All right, joining us now is Neama Rahmani. He's a former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers. We appreciate you being with us this morning, especially early on the West Coast. Neama, we just played the video there from different angles, multiple videos. The White House, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, they all say that it was self-defense. State and local officials strongly dispute that. When you look at the video, legally, what do you see?
Rahel, I'm trying to separate the politics from the law here. And first, I understand that our nation's immigration laws, they're unpopular, but ICE absolutely had a right to be there. And I'm going to assume for the sake of argument that good was obstructing. That means agents can detain her temporarily. And if she did strike them with her vehicle, well, that's felony assault. But to use deadly force, you have to be at imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury. And the use of force must be both objective, reasonable, and also proportionate. I don't believe the use of force in this case was justified, and this is why. There's clear evidence that she's backing her vehicle up. She's turning the wheels to the right. I don't believe that this agent was at imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury. I believe that this was an overreaction. This was criminally negligent. We're certainly going to see a civil lawsuit. We may even see murder charges under Minnesota state law.
And we also don't see in this video the agent involved get out of the way of the car or attempt to get out of the way of the car. I mean, Neama, is he required to before using this kind of force? I mean, what types of actions are required before you pull your weapon?
Well, Rahel, there's no duty to retreat, so that's not necessary. But the question is, was this criminally reckless? If you're a law enforcement officer, doesn't matter if you're local police or you're a federal agent, should you be approaching a vehicle from the front of the vehicle and putting yourself in danger's way? Now, obviously, that's not an excuse or justification to accelerate into an officer. But again, does that require the use of deadly force? It appears to me what's happening here is the ICE agent wants to prevent someone from fleeing. Well, the law is clear. You cannot shoot someone simply because they are fleeing, even if they are a fleeing felon. You have to use non-lethal tactics to detain them. That's exactly what should have been done here. And if so, Good may have been in custody and been alive instead of the tragedy that we've all seen.
And you said that you might expect to see murder charges, perhaps a civil case in a trial like this, in a case like this. You've been on both sides of the courtroom, Neama. What might you expect to hear as a potential defense? I mean, self-defense is already sort of out there in the ether, but walk me through what you might expect to hear, especially since there appears to be so much video that we've already seen in just the last few hours.
Well, there's no question we're going to see a civil lawsuit by the victim's family. That's coming. But in terms of the criminal cases, there's the possibility of federal and state charges. We know federal charges are not happening in this political climate. There's no chance that Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice charges this ICE agent. So it's going to be up to Minnesota's Attorney General Ellison or local prosecutors there to charge the agent with either murder or manslaughter. And he absolutely can be charged under state law, even though he's a federal agent. So there's really 3 degrees of murder under Minnesota law, and there's actually 2 degrees of manslaughter. So it can get a little bit complicated, but it's important to know that under both the civil and criminal cases, if the self-defense is perfected, that means if it was objective, if it was reasonable, the jurors do believe that the agent was at that imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury, that is a complete defense. But if the self-defense is not perfected and jurors believe that this agent was shooting someone who was fleeing, the federal government is going to have to pay a lot of money, and this ICE agent will likely be convicted. I can tell you a recent case I handled. Jurors do not like officers who shoot people just because they're fleeing. 2 weeks ago, got a $13 million verdict in a similar case where someone attacked a police officer, tried to run away, and was shot in the back 4 times. So that's the type of thing jurors don't like because they expect their police officers to follow the law.
How does the fact that, I mean, there were other people outside, there were other agents outside, I mean, how does that play into ultimately what happened here? That there were other people potentially in danger as this agent opened fire?
Well, it's critically important. So one thing we've seen is video is the best evidence. And a lot of people are drawing parallels to George Floyd. Obviously, that also happened in Minnesota, close to the scene of this tragic killing, but I think they're very different cases because obviously this was a split-second decision, and in the Derek Chauvin case, you had someone who killed an innocent man over the span of 8 minutes. But in addition to the video, and I think, Rahel, the most important video is going to be the shooting agent's body cam footage. That angle is the most important. I mean, we're seeing the front side angle here from a distance. Obviously, we've all seen the angle from the back, but it's really the agent's angle that matters the most because he is in the position to make the decision whether to use deadly force or not. And his angle is the one that's going to be dispositive. But as was reported, the fact that there are other agents present and none of them decide to use any force whatsoever. They're trying to pull the steering wheel, they're giving verbal commands, and you have one agent that decides on his own to use the most lethal force, and not just one gunshot, Rahel. And we see the one in the front, but 3. Was the second and third necessary? I think those are going to be very difficult questions for both this ICE agent, who will be named individually in the lawsuit as a plaintiff, and the federal government to answer, because I don't expect them to settle this case. So I expect to see parallel prosecutions, both on the civil side as well as by state prosecutors here.
Yeah, certainly a lot to watch here. Neama Rahmani, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.